By the time we reach the end of this breakdown, you will understand exactly how a mid-season regulatory deadline on June 1, 2026 resolved a technical dispute that made Kimi Antonelli's rise become exactly what nobody at Mercedes expected. This is not just a story about a teenager leading the championship with 209 points and 6 wins from the first 12 rounds, because those numbers are merely the visible symptom of a much deeper engineering gamble that forced the FIA to rewrite the rulebook while the season was still active. The resolution to this ticking clock involves a specific compromise on compression ratio measurement that satisfied 5 manufacturers without stripping a single point from the constructors' table. But getting to that answer requires understanding why the entire paddock was suddenly obsessed with engine temperature. There is a tension here that goes beyond simple performance metrics, because while the FIA privately told Mercedes their engine was legal under the existing regulations, they simultaneously approved a unanimous e-vote to change those very regulations before the summer break. Why would the governing body validate a design in secret only to publicly alter the measurement method weeks later, and more importantly, how does a driver born in August 2006 maintain a 50-point lead over Lewis Hamilton when his car's legality was being debated in closed-door meetings? That contradiction sits at the heart of this season, creating an open loop between what is technically permitted and what is competitively accepted that we cannot fully close until we examine the specific material science involved. So, where does that leave us right now? We have a championship leader who has publicly stated he did not expect to be in this position, sitting atop the standings thanks to a power unit advantage that rivals claim should never have existed in the first place. The stakes could not be higher for a team trying to secure a title with a second-year driver, yet the foundation of that success rests on an interpretation of Article C5, 4. 3. That Honda, Ferrari, and Audi formally challenged as non-compliant once operating temperatures were reached. You might assume this is a clear case of cheating versus clean racing, but the reality is far more nuanced than a simple binary verdict. Rivals suspected something was wrong. Tests confirmed suspicions. Silence followed. The alleged advantage wasn't found in the garage or during cold inspections, but rather emerged only when the internal components expanded under extreme thermal load at 130 degrees Celsius. Estimates suggest this hot-running state could yield between 10 and 13 additional horsepower, a margin that transforms a competitive straight-line battle into a decisive overtaking opportunity. Yet the FIA's own secret testing concluded the engine met the letter of the law as it was written at the start of the year. This creates a fascinating paradox, where Mercedes is both vindicated by official scrutiny and condemned by competitive consensus, leaving us to wonder if the true story is about engineering brilliance or regulatory failure. We know Antonelli has won in China, Japan, Miami, Canada, Monaco, and Belgium, making him the youngest driver to ever lead a world championship standings in just his second full season. But we do not yet know whether that historic achievement is primarily a testament to his talent, or a byproduct of a thermal expansion loophole that existed in the gray area between ambient testing and race conditions. The answer lies in connecting the dots between a specific regulatory clause, a unanimous manufacturer vote, and a teenage driver's unexpected dominance. And that connection is precisely what we are building toward as we unpack the timeline that led to the most significant mid-season technical adjustment in the 2026 era. Kimi Antonelli heads into the 2026 summer break with 209 points and a 50-point lead over Lewis Hamilton after 6 wins, a dominance the teenager publicly admitted he did not expect when the season began. Now, admission is crucial because it frames his performance not as an inevitable coronation, but as a genuine surprise even to the person behind the wheel, separating his current standing from any preseason projections Mercedes might have held internally. 6 victories from the first 12 rounds is a strike rate that typically belongs to established champions in their prime, not a driver who is still navigating the learning curve of Formula One machinery just months ago. He won in China, then Japan. Miami followed. These were not isolated moments of fortune or strategic anomalies caused by safety cars, but rather sustained demonstrations of pace across vastly different circuit characteristics and climate conditions. Can a driver really separate their own confidence from the mechanical advantage beneath them when the car's legality is being questioned in real time? That question hangs over every podium celebration because while the points are officially his, the context of those points remains entangled with the compression ratio debate that dominated the early months of the campaign. Antonelli's 59-point gap to teammate George Russell suggests the car is capable of delivering championship-winning performance, yet Russell's results indicate the machinery is not so dominant that it renders driver input irrelevant. This internal benchmark matters because it provides the only clean comparison we have within the same garage, free from the variables of rival teams' development curves or reliability issues. Speed defined him, record spell, history shifted. At just 19 years old for much of this campaign, he has become the youngest driver to ever lead an F1 World Championship standings, achieving this milestone in only his second full season after a rookie year that included a notable mid-season slump. That previous struggle makes his current form even more remarkable, as it demonstrates a capacity for growth that transcends raw talent or favorable regulations. TSN and Speedway Digest both confirmed his win tally through the summer break, establishing a statistical foundation that no amount of regulatory controversy can retroactively erase from the record books. The points stand. The wins count. The championship lead is real regardless of how the engine dispute is ultimately remembered by historians. So let us reframe what we have established so far about the human element of the story before diving deeper into the mechanical side. We have a teenage leader who exceeded his own expectations, a teammate gap that validates the car's potential, and a historic achievement that exists independently of the technical cloud hanging over the Mercedes power unit. But understanding why this rise caught everyone off guard requires looking past the driver's personal evolution and toward the specific engineering decisions that created the platform for his success. The 6 wins did not happen in a vacuum, and neither did the 209 points that currently separate him from the rest of the grid. Yahoo Sports cited Antonelli directly when reporting his surprise at leading the championship, which tells us that even the primary beneficiary of Mercedes' 2026 package did not anticipate this level of competitiveness. That lack of expectation is significant because it suggests the team's own simulations may have underestimated the combined effect of driver development and power unit performance. When the person extracting the maximum from the machine is genuinely shocked by the output, it implies the ceiling was higher than anyone predicted during the design phase. This disconnect between projected performance and actual results is where the story of Antonelli's rise intersects with the story of the engine that powers him, creating a feedback loop where mechanical advantage amplifies driver confidence, and driver confidence maximizes mechanical advantage. This on-track surge was aided by a Mercedes power unit exploiting Article C5.3, using materials that expanded under heat to push the geometric compression ratio from a legal cold 16.0 to an estimated 18,001 at 130-day C. That specific regulation originally set the maximum limit for any cylinder but only mandated measurement at ambient temperature, creating a verification gap that engineers could theoretically exploit through thermal dynamics. MotorBiscuit described this phenomenon as the 130°C loophole, framing it not as outright cheating but as clever engineering that operated within the literal text while challenging the competitive spirit of the rule. The distinction matters because, in Formula One, the difference between innovation and illegality often comes down to how precisely a regulation is written rather than the intent behind it. Materials changed everything. Heat revealed truth. Physics won. Rivals suspected that internal engine components were specifically engineered to expand significantly once operating temperature was reached, allowing a meaningfully higher effective compression ratio during actual racing conditions than what inspectors saw in the garage. Grand Prix 247 confirmed the original regulation's cold-only measurement protocol, which explains why this interpretation was even possible in the first place. When you design a component that passes inspection at room temperature but transforms its geometry at 130 degrees Celsius, you are not breaking the rule as written, but rather exposing its incompleteness. This is the gray zone where championships are sometimes won and lost, where the letter of the law and the reality of performance diverge until regulators catch up. But here is where certainty fractures into speculation, because the magnitude of this alleged advantage remains unconfirmed by any official source despite widespread paddock discussion. Some reporting suggests the gain was roughly 10 to 13 horsepower, while other estimates indicate the benefit could be larger under specific conditions, yet no FIA document has ever quantified the exact performance delta. We know rivals believed the advantage existed, and we know they complained loudly enough to trigger regulatory action, but we do not have a verified number that translates thermal expansion into lap time. This uncertainty forces us to treat every horsepower figure as an estimate rather than a fact, even as we acknowledge that the perception of an advantage was real enough to reshape the entire competitive landscape. Why would manufacturers risk formal complaints without definitive proof unless the on-track evidence was overwhelming? Honda, Ferrari, and Audi all reportedly challenged Mercedes over this issue, suggesting multiple independent engineering teams observed the same suspicious performance characteristics during race weekends. Their collective concern carried enough weight to prompt the FIA's secret hot temperature checks, indicating the governing body took the allegations seriously enough to investigate beyond standard procedures. Yet even after those undisclosed inspections, the FIA privately informed Mercedes that their engine remained legal under the regulations as they stood at the time of testing. This creates a scenario where the accused party was simultaneously validated by officials and pressured by competitors, leaving the true extent of any advantage permanently ambiguous. So, where does that leave our understanding of the mechanical foundation beneath Antonelli's championship lead? We have identified the specific regulatory clause, the thermal mechanism, the estimated performance range, and the official response that both cleared and questioned the design in equal measure. The engine passed inspection. Rivals remained unconvinced. The debate continued. What we cannot say with absolute precision is exactly how many tenths per lap this interpretation delivered, or whether the advantage was consistent across all circuits and fuel loads. But we can say that the existence of this dispute fundamentally altered how the 2026 season unfolded, forcing every team to question whether their own interpretations of the new power unit formula were conservative enough to be safe or aggressive enough to compete. The FIA acknowledged by ESPN that a significant effort had been invested in finding a solution to the compression ratio topic, language that recognizes the complexity without assigning blame or confirming any performance benefit. That carefully worded statement accompanied the announcement of a new measurement regime requiring both cold and hot checks from June 1st onward, with hot-only measurement becoming standard from 2027. This compromise satisfied nobody completely while preventing the championship from collapsing into endless litigation over past results. No points were stripped, no penalties applied. The resolution was entirely forward-looking, preserving Antonelli's 219 points and 6 wins, while ensuring future engines would be evaluated under conditions that matched actual racing temperatures. GP fans published analysis explicitly titled around evidence that disproves the compression allegations, revealing a genuine editorial split where not every specialist outlet accepted the loophole narrative as proven fact. This media disagreement mirrors the technical ambiguity itself, because while MotorBiscuit framed the situation as clever engineering within legal boundaries, other voices argued the advantage was overstated or misinterpreted by complaining rivals. Such division prevents us from declaring definitive truth about what happened inside those cylinders, forcing us instead to accept that multiple valid interpretations can coexist even among experts with access to similar data. So where does that leave our understanding of the mechanical foundation beneath this championship campaign?